This summer, Instacart is bringing back your favorites from 1999 with prices from 1999. That means 90s prices on juice pouches that ought to be respected, 90s prices on box mac and cheese, and 90s prices on ham, cheese, and cracker lunches. Enjoy all those throwbacks and more at throwback prices, only through Instacart. $4.72 maximum discount per $10 of eligible items. Limit 3 offers per order. Expires September 5th while supplies last. Discount based on CPI comparison.
Hey listeners, it's Mishi, and this of course is Israel Story. So once again, we find ourselves in uncharted territory for the last 2 days since Israel began its attack on Iranian targets in the early hours of Friday morning. We've all been glued to our phones as the Homefront Command instructs us when to enter and then when it's safe to exit our bomb shelters. There's no school, workplaces are shut, assemblies are forbidden, and most significantly, over the last couple of nights we've been bombarded, buildings have been hit, and people have sadly been injured and killed. Our offices are closed as well, like all other non-essential workplaces in the country. But Mitch Ginsburg and I actually came in here to quickly record this. And as we were walking into the building 3 minutes ago, we got another notification from the Homefront Command to enter the Miklat, the bomb shelter, because there was another launch from Iran. And luckily our studios are actually in the bomb shelter, so we are now both recording and being safe, and the sirens are currently blaring outside. So yeah, while all kinds of very unwanted things are flying here from Iran these days, in fact, these very moments, we wanted to remind you of something, or I should really say someone wonderful who came here from Iran. It's a story we produced 7 years ago in 2018, but I actually think it's really interesting to listen to it today with everything that's going on now. So we're resharing it in hopes of better and quieter days to come. Here it is.
We've all probably heard the word Hasbara. Literally, it means explanation. But Hasbara is really much more than that. It's a concerted effort to influence the international perception of Israel, to shape public sentiments and get foreign politicians, opinion makers, and just regular people to view Israel in a positive light. Of course, every country engages in what's called public diplomacy. But Hasbara is both wider and more ambitious. The Israeli government is involved, but so are nonprofits, lobbyists, academics, students, and journalists. For Israel's passionate defenders, Hasbara is basically just an exercise in clearing up misunderstandings, countering anti-Israel biases, and giving a voice to the Jewish state's amazing achievements. For its critics, however, Hasbara is flat-out propaganda, cynical whitewashing at best, lies and fabrications at worst. But everyone agrees that there's a craft involved. Like all advertising, Hasbara relies on compelling narratives. The perfect Hasbara story, and I really don't mean this sarcastically, plays up Israel's innovation, openness, and humanitarianism. Think Startup Nation. Think Gay Pride in Tel Aviv, or even natural disaster relief in Haiti or Nepal. Stories like that are upbeat, touching, shareable, and hopefully viral. Now, sometimes Israel has to go digging for these Hasbara stories. And sometimes, like in the piece we're about to hear from Samuel Thrope, they just fall right into its lap.
پیام فعلی no longer needs to hide.
این روزها نام پیام فعلی شاعر و نویسنده جوان ایرانی
پیام à 30 ans.
מצטרף אלינו, קוראים לו پیام פעילי.
Trials and tribulations of Payam Fili.
что вы очутились в Израиле. Пayam, shalom.
In a country where he says he feels like a native son.
The man at the center of those reports is Payam Feli. He's 33. When he arrived in Israel at the end of 2015, he seemed to be everywhere. On TV, on the radio, in newspapers. His story was pretty outstanding. A gay Iranian writer, not Jewish, had received special permission to come to Israel, and was now determined to make this land his new home. If Payam had come from any other country, his arrival in Tel Aviv would probably have gone unnoticed. But Israel and Iran, no need to state the obvious, are not exactly close allies.
Payam is from Iran, and Iran is a serious strategic threat to Israel, and it not only denies our right to exist, but is actually trying to destroy us. That makes the story unique.
That's Michael Oren.
I'm Dr. Michael Oren. I'm the Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's office.
Michael, Israel's former ambassador in Washington, is also a Hasbara ninja. He's one of the country's most vocal and unrelenting defenders abroad. Michael's never actually met Payam. He's only heard about his story in the press, but you can count on him to recognize good Hasbara material when he sees it.
Clearly, the image that emerges from his story goes against the grain. It's underscoring a central truth about Israel, and it's dispelling a fundamental untruth about Israel, that Israel is not a liberal society, Israel is not an opening and welcoming society.
Those news clips you heard a moment ago were from the first few weeks after Payam arrived in Israel. He looks elated to be here, eager to recount how, as a gay man, he escaped persecution in Iran. And just how much he loves Israel. With his chic leather jackets, colorful scarves, bright lipstick, and blue nail polish, his entire persona is a refusal to conform to gender norms. Combined with the oversized Star of David tattoo on his neck, he's straight out of gay, Persian, Israel-loving central casting. His homosexuality is a big part of why he ended up settling in a gay-friendly city like Tel Aviv. It's also a big part of his Hasbara appeal. So, with all that, you might expect him to swiftly become the darling of the Israeli Hasbara apparatus. To see him on tour with Michael Oren and Alan Dershowitz, keynoting AIPAC, singing the praises of the Zionist state. Well, not quite.
As a refugee in Israel, I suffer a lot. I asked for asylum, and no one from the government helped me or offered me something.
That's Payam. He's the kind of guy you would love to meet for a cup of coffee. He listens, he's funny, he's a terrible gossip, and a storyteller with a rare ability to laugh at himself. He can also be very soft-spoken, even when he's talking about the most important things. Like how, 2 years after he arrived, the Israeli government hasn't even begun processing his application for refugee status. How he's stuck in legal limbo, unable to work, to travel, even to open a bank account, with no end in sight.
You asked me if it's good for them to accept me as a refugee, and they don't do it a lot, but they can use this story. It's not important for me why and how they will do it. Just I want to live in this life that I made in Israel.
So Payam has boundless potential to be a major player in Israel's Hasbara machine, and he knows it. But timing is everything in life. And in a moment when the country is in the midst of an immigration and refugee crisis on the one hand, and grasping for any good press on the other, it isn't clear how Payam's story will end. Payam was born in 1985, 6 years after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, and smack in the middle of the 8-year-long Iran-Iraq war. His hometown, Kermanshah, was bombed repeatedly by the Iraqi Air Force, so Payam and his family fled. After moving around a lot, they finally settled in the capital, Tehran. Payam was 12. Although he and his family escaped without any physical wounds, Payam was left with mental ones, that cut deep.
I think that I felt everything double or triple.
As a teenager, symptoms of post-traumatic stress, depression, bipolarism, and a diagnosed learning disability pushed Payam to slowly recede from the outside world. At 15, he stopped attending school. Soon he barely left the house at all.
All my connection with outside was stop, finish. I didn't have any reason to go out. No friends. Nothing, just to my psychologist and come back.
But cloistered in his room, as his physical world fell away, his imagination and mental world blossomed. It was there that 3 truths solidified for Payam. He was gay, he was a writer, and he loved Judaism.
Everything happened to me in the age of this fucking 15. Even before that, I understood that I'm not interested to girls and I want to be always with boys and to do something with them. But I was too small. I couldn't understand what is this. But in the age of 15, slowly I understood that maybe I'm a little different.
What is that like, realizing that you're gay in Tehran?
I was afraid, I remember. I was afraid.
With good reason. Homosexuality is a capital offense in Iran. Gay men and lesbians can be rounded up by the police at parties, on the street, or in their homes.
When you are gay, it's like to give permission to the government to kill you. So for my family, it wasn't easy to know that I'm gay.
Technically, the testimony of 2 eyewitnesses is required to convict someone of homosexual acts. But in reality, judges have wide discretion to convict even without much proof. Some gay men are pushed to undergo sexual reassignment surgery, which is legal, and to live as transgender women. Though gay life does exist underground, most gay Iranians spend years hiding who they are from their family and friends. The pressure is immense. Depression, paranoia, and loneliness are rampant. Suicide attempts are commonplace. Payam, too, has tried to kill himself. It was in the midst of all this turmoil that Payam discovered Jewish culture.
So when I was in the age of 15, I wanted to know what is Quran, what they say, what is Torah, what the Christians say. This stuff I was just curious to know. I didn't find Quran so beautiful, but I found Torah opposite. Yes, there is aggressive things in Torah also, but it was beautiful. Till now I have Torah in Persian, and when I'm in trouble, all the nights I read Torah.
Maybe because the Iranian government demonizes Zionism and the Jewish state so much, Payam is far from being the only Iranian of his generation who is curious about Judaism or Israel, sometimes even to a surprising degree. I once met a young Iranian who told me that he is addicted to watching the broadcasts of Knesset parliamentary debates on Israel's version of C-SPAN. Payam's interest was different, though. He wanted to escape the loneliness and isolation of his everyday life. Jewish culture, not just the Bible, but the Holocaust and Israel too, opened up a fantasy world to do exactly that. It became a major theme in his writing. Payam published his first book, a poetry collection, when he was 19. But the government censors ordered that 2 poems be removed before publication. This came as no surprise to Payam. Iran has a vibrant cultural and literary scene. But before any book can be published in Iran, it first has to be approved by the government's Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. When the censored version of the book finally came out, it did well, selling out 2 editions. The success spurred him to keep writing. More poems, short stories, and novellas followed. But his best known and most infamous book is the novel I Will Grow, I Will Bear Fruit, Figs, written when he was 24. The story is told from the perspective of a nameless, young gay man who is secretly in love with his heterosexual friend, whom he calls Poker. The book unfolds like a surreal, hallucinatory dream.
The Afghan groundskeeper spreads clouds above us. Poker grows tall. His branches become a nest of birds. I extend a branch, coil it around a glass of water, and pour it at Poker's feet. Poker sucks up the water with his roots. The young chicks' warm and soft bellies cool off. The air grows humid. The birds bathe. The Queen of Israel smiles.
Sarah Khalili is one of the most important translators of modern Persian literature working today, and when Payam first sent her a copy of Figs, she nearly fell out of her chair. I spoke to her on Skype.
I've never read anything close to this by a young Iranian writer at all. And there are some very good works of literature being produced in Iran, but nothing like this, or at least nothing that I've come across.
But all these rich literary allusions weren't important to the Iranian government censors. As far as they were concerned, all that mattered were the book's first 3 sentences.
من 21 سال دارم. من هم جنسگرا هستم.
I am 21.
من آفتاب بعد از ظهر را دوست دارم.
I am a homosexual.
آپارتمان من در
I like the
حومه شهر
afternoon
است،
sun.
نزدیک به اسکله. In these last 100 years, I don't know before that. I don't know all the historia. Even before the revolution or after, nobody, writer or actors or dancer or I don't know what, whatever, nobody said that I'm gay. In this Iran, nobody did it. The only one that did these stupid things, it was me.
Figs was not allowed to be published in Iran, but Payam didn't give up. Like many other Iranian writers facing censorship, he arranged to publish the book outside the country, with a Persian-language publisher in Germany. Reviewers, all Iranians living in exile of course, praised him for his bravery, his skill, and his innovation. The government's response was swift and brutal. Payam was blacklisted, and his family began receiving threatening phone calls. Then, in 2011, they came for him.
And they don't come to you as a police with some paper that they have a right to arrest you. Middle of the night, they come to you, they catch you.
He was gagged and blindfolded, and didn't know where they were taking him.
You have no idea. This is the way.
After being detained for a month, Payam was summarily released with a warning. No charges were filed against him, and he was never taken before a judge. A year later, he was arrested again and released again, but none of this stopped him. He just kept writing and giving interviews to foreign journalists, talking brazenly about the repression of gays in Iran.
Sometimes people said to me that, wow, you are so brave. I said, Mommy, I'm not brave. I'm so stupid. But if I back again in that situation, I do it again. It's so heavy and uncomfortable for me when someone wants to put me down because something that I am. I'm not so brave. I'm afraid of many things, even simple things. But if someone wants to tell me that don't be this that you are, I cannot stand it.
Despite 2 stints in jail, Payam continued to tempt fate. He contacted Orly Noy, Israel's leading translator of contemporary Persian literature. Payam asked whether she'd be willing to translate Figs into Hebrew. Excited, she happily agreed, and even found him an Israeli publisher. In February 2014, the publisher emailed him his contract.
I never forget. It was 12 in the noon. My Israeli publisher sent me the contract. And I signed it and I sent them 12 in the noon. They broke the door of my home in the 12 in the 9. Just 12 hours they needed to realize that this Persian poet is doing something with some Israeli publisher. They took me and they put me in a container for 44 days. I didn't have no idea if they will rape me because they do that.
Payam was repeatedly interrogated.
4 men, investigator, asked me such stupid questions. And of course, they know everything about me. They know what I ate, what I wrote to someone. They know everything. But they ask you, they do the investigation just to make a case, to give it to the judge. It's funny, Sam. One of the questions was, who gave you money to write this book in Israel? Which Jewish or which Israeli gave you money to write this book? You said good things about Israel. Who gave you money to do this? And I said, I wish someone give me money for this. No one gave me money.
He was held in a shipping container in an unknown location for 6 long weeks. In the end, they made him sign a statement, swearing he'd never talk about what happened to him and never speak to the foreign press again. With that, he was let go. But just as soon as he got out, the first call he made was to an Israeli reporter.
I don't know why I choose all the time dangerous way in my life.
So, the government turned to more drastic measures. Vicious articles attacking Payam began appearing in the conservative Iranian media. They called him a traitor and a spy, and said that Israel was paying him to write his books. After his detentions and interrogations, this might not sound like much, but these articles were the beginning of a coordinated attack, laying the public relations groundwork to justify another arrest, trial, and ultimately, Payam's execution. Payam's friends and supporters at gay rights and humanitarian organizations outside of Iran knew it. He began receiving panicked phone calls.
All the organization called me and told me, Mommy, this is the end. It's not funny anymore. You don't have any chance. They started to do it. After all these articles, you are going to the jail, and after that they make show in the television that you did this, you did that, and they will kill you.
That very day, Saturday, June 13th, 2014, he left Iran with 2 suitcases and his entire savings, $1,300.
I ran away to Turkey without any plan. I didn't know what will be. Turkey, I didn't want to stay in Turkey, of course. Just I ran away to be not in Iran.
But Payam did end up staying in Turkey for more than a year. Most Iranians seeking asylum outside their homeland turn to the United Nations or other international refugee agencies to begin the process of resettlement. Payam, however, didn't have to. His publishers around the world sent him enough royalties to live on, and a bunch of NGOs were working on his behalf to find a country that would take him in. First Switzerland seemed like an option, then Norway, and finally the United States, where he was accepted to a writer-in-residence program in Pittsburgh. Then, in September 2015, just after he received his much-coveted American visa, he woke up to a surprise.
I saw 1,000 messages from my Israeli friends. They wrote me that you can come here. I didn't understand.
Without Payam's knowledge, an Israeli journalist had discussed his case with Miri Regev, Israel's Minister of Culture. Regev, like Michael Oren, whom we heard at the beginning, probably immediately recognized the PR potential of an Israel-loving Iranian. She quickly persuaded then Interior Minister Silvan Shalom to issue Payam a special artist visa, rarely, if ever, granted to Iranian citizens. Without a second thought, Payam relinquished the American asylum that other refugees wait years, often fruitlessly, to receive. From the outside, this seems, well, to me at least, it seems like a pretty mind-boggling decision. America promised stability, freedom, a job, a community of writers. All Israel had to offer was a short-term artist visa, which, if he accepted it, meant he could never return home. But Judaism in Israel had been Payam's imaginary refuge ever since he was a teenager.
Listen, always I thought if something happened and I have to leave Iran, the only place that I can live in is Israel.
And so, a few weeks later, Payam Feili landed at Ben Gurion Airport. From the moment he arrived, Payam was already planning to apply for permanent asylum in Israel. As a non-Jewish Iranian, there's really no other way for him to stay in the country long term. His arrival made a monumental splash in the Israeli and international press. Payam was photographed by the Mediterranean Sea for the New York Times, on the roof of the Tel Aviv City Hall for AP, and did the rounds of the morning shows on Israeli TV. After a few months, though, when the attention had died down, he became just one of the tens of thousands of asylum seekers living in the country. And Israel, as you might guess, is not an easy place to be a refugee. Most asylum seekers here come from Africa, particularly war-torn Eritrea and Sudan. These refugees have been in the news a lot lately. The same Miri Regev, who was so instrumental in Payam's case, has famously called them a cancer. You'd think Payam's international fame and Hasbara benefit for Israel would mean he could just jump the line. But Payam had to follow the same standard procedure for gaining political asylum as everyone else.
The problem with this procedure is that it has no timeline, so it's in the system, but that's where it stops.
That's Chagai Kalai, Payam's lawyer.
It's a very common situation in Israel where asylum seekers just wait. The request is pending for years and years.
While they wait, asylum seekers don't have access to the country's regular health insurance system and can't get legal work permits. But being an Iranian asylum seeker has its particular challenges. Payam isn't even allowed to open a bank account.
When I went to the bank, they told me maybe I will send them money to do terror, or I'm not sure if they need my 5,000 shekel every month to do terror.
Israel's Population and Immigration Authority, which handles requests from asylum seekers, declined to be interviewed about Payam's case. But after many emails and phone messages, they did send me an official response. Mr. Payam Feili came to Israel almost 2 years ago as an artist and poet, with an exceptional authorization granted by the then Interior Minister, and with the support of the relevant minister, his entry was approved for 2 weeks only. That part is underlined and in bold. Mr. Feili did not uphold his obligations and did not leave the country at the end of 2 weeks, but instead applied for asylum with the unit responsible for asylum seekers soon after. As is well known, the unit deals with thousands, if not tens of thousands of asylum requests, and Mr. Feili's request is also being dealt with.
So that's a formal answer from the Interior Office. I think the rhetorics of this answer tells you most of the story. They could easily give him an asylum, and we were optimistic that that's what will happen. It's even a good story for Israel. And yet the reaction was very clearly hostile.
But governmental hostility notwithstanding, and unlike in Iran, or even in Turkey, Payam can live openly as a gay man in Tel Aviv.
It's a gay city, you know.
He is free to be himself. He is safe. Not only that, Payam feels at home here. He feels Israeli.
People made me this feeling that I'm part of the family.
This isn't just an empty boast. Payam is surrounded by Israeli friends, sprinkles his sentences with Hebrew words, and looks and acts the part of a hip, gay Tel Avivi. Payam still writes every day. When we meet, he reads me parts of his latest work, but who will read it? Unlike in America or Europe, there is no natural Persian readership here. No community of Iranian intellectuals in exile whom he could join and who could support him. For someone else maybe, this wouldn't be such a burden. But for Payam?
The only thing that I can explain myself with is that I write. I don't know, without this, who am I?
Sarah Khalili, Payam's English translator, told me that this is not only a personal loss for Payam, but also for Persian literature.
I think this work could be a groundbreaker, let's say. However, it will not be read. And I find that tragic. And I'm not sure whether Payam realized the magnitude and the gravity of the decision he was taking.
Payam is frustrated.
It's a shame for this government and for this Jewish society who were all the Historia immigrated or refugee. As a refugee in Israel, I suffer a lot.
Honestly, there's something about this that rubs me the wrong way. When Payam complains, as he sometimes does, that the Israeli government is acting shamefully, it's hard to fully sympathize. After all, he had opportunities to go elsewhere, to America. He chose to be here of his own free will. What exactly does he think Israel owes him? But I think Payam's frustration comes not from a sense of entitlement or lack of gratitude. Instead, as odd as it seems to say it, I think it comes from a feeling of patriotism. He cares so passionately for this place and identifies so strongly with it that he's willing to call out its faults, out of love. And that may just be the most powerful kind of Israel advocacy. Before Payam came here, Israel was just a fantasy. And reality? Well, it's very different. He isn't really bitter. He doesn't regret his choice. But for all that Israel has given him, it's also taken. You see, this story doesn't have a Hasbara-like happy ending. In fact, it doesn't really have an ending at all. Where are we?
You are in my city, Tel Aviv.
We're walking down Rothschild Boulevard, the city's tree-lined Central Avenue. It's sunny and warm.
It's better to go here, not to go 20 minutes.
We stroll past Israelis riding their bicycles, walking their dogs, and sipping iced lattes in the cafes. To my mind, at least, this is about the furthest away Payam could have come from Tehran. But not to him.
If you are from Tehran, you can find many things the same. the feeling, all this mess, all the balagan, it's remind me many times. Tehran is big, but the feeling, it remind me Tehran.
Samuel Thrope. Samuel is a writer and Persian translator living in Jerusalem. His latest book, The Israeli Republic, is available on Amazon.
אני חיה לי מיום ליום, מפזרת את ימיי לרוח, אנשים מתחתנים סביבי, גם אני רוצה קצת לנוח, אומרים שהאדמה שלנו מסתובבת סביב צירה, איפה הציר שלי? להסתובב זה דבר נורא, לא כל כך יפה, ולא בת 16, אבל יודעת משהו על העולם הזה, ואם הוא רציני, ואם הוא רק רוצה תמורת מילה אחת, אתן כל כך הרבה. פה ושם הופיע גבר, כמו בתחנת רכבת נידחת, איש שרצה בי בערב, חזר בו עם עלות השחר, אומרים שהשמש שלנו בוערת כבר 1,000,000 שנה, כמה יכול לבעור אדם ובסך הכל בשביל מה? לא כל כך יפה, ולא בת 16, אבל יודעת משהו על העולם הזה, ואם הוא רציני, ואם הוא רק רוצה תמורת מילה אחת, אתן כל כך הרבה. לא כל כך יפה, ולא בת 16, אבל יודעת משהו על העולם הזה, ואם יושיט לי יד, ואם יגיד רוצה תמורת מעט מאוד, אתן כל כך הרבה.
Ever wonder what your lashes are destined for? The cards have spoken. Maybelline New York Mascara does it all. Whether you crave fully fan lashes with Lash Sensational, big, bold volume from the Colossal, a dramatic lift with Falsies Lash Lift, or natural-looking volume from Great Lash, your perfect lash future awaits. Manifest your best mascara today. Shop Maybelline New York and discover your lash destiny. Shop now at Walmart.